Hey, I'm Stephanie, and it's time to ask, who is Queen Musia? Short answer, it's a makeup brand, and today's video is a review with application footage and swatches. As always, I use timestamps, so feel free to hop, skip, and jump to whatever's most relevant for you. But first, a very brief overview of the brand. The packaging is a pistachio soft serve dream. The brand is named after a cat, and they are cruelty-free, all of which are things that are pretty cool in my book, but the question stands. Is the makeup as cool as their marketing, their packaging, and their cat? That is what we will try to determine over the course of today's review. At the time of filming, the brand currently has a range that is very small and refined. It consists of one mascara and an assortment of 6 matte cream lipsticks. The entire range is fragrance-free, although is there such a thing as fragranced mascara? I certainly hope not. Queen Musia's cosmetics are produced in Italy, which is a location known for manufacturing high-quality cosmetics, and they consider themselves to be a clean brand, meaning there are no silicones, microplastics, PFAS, petroleum-based chemicals, stuff like that. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm not necessarily a fan of clean cosmetics. I'm not against them either. I mean, who wants PFAS in their mascara? But I have found that some clean beauty products don't tend to have very high quality or very good longevity, meaning sometimes they expire really quickly in just a matter of months. I haven't had these products in my possession for even 2 months yet, so I can't really say much about the longevity, but the brand does claim that the lipsticks have a shelf life of 18 months and that the mascara has a shelf life of 6 months, both of which I think are a fair amount of time to use up a product like these. Now it's time to discuss the quality, but first, my full disclosure. Queen Musia was kind enough to gift me one of their lipsticks and one of their mascaras, but there was no obligation to review or to post about these products, and I am not being paid to create this video. I have used affiliate links in the description box, and I do have a discount code for you, which I'll put right here and in the description as well. And if you do use those links or that code, I do earn a small commission. But basically, I'm allowed to say whatever the heck I want about these products, and so you're in for an honest review starting now. Let's begin with a very brief discussion of the packaging, which is, in my opinion, pretty stellar. The soft matte finish of this dreamy soft serve lipstick case not only looks yummy, it feels delectable. And I was particularly impressed with the attention to detail because whenever you put the cap back on the lipstick, it clicks into place in such a way that the swirls line up. That might seem like a little thing to some, but to someone like me, that attention to detail is great, and it also means that I can always pull this lipstick out of my bag anytime I'm bored on the train and hypnotize myself with it like this. The mascara packaging is not only cool looking, it is also cool to the touch because it's made out of metal, and it is heavy. Do not pull a bunny foo-foo and go bopping field mice on the head with this because they will get a concussion, and that would not be in line with the cruelty-free ethos of this brand. Editing Stephanie here. I just realized not all of us might know the bunny foo-foo song, so here goes. Little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, scooping up the field mice and bopping them on the head. Okay, apparently my childhood was filled with vindictive rodents. Hopefully yours wasn't. Onward. But of course, the juice inside is much more important than the packaging, so let's begin by talking about the Mascara 2053. My question is, why did Queen Musia call this mascara 2053? I think we should all try to guess in the comments. My guess is because this claims to have kind of lash enhancing ingredients in it, that they estimate it will look like you have 2053 more lashes than you actually do when you use this. I don't know. What's your guess? But back to business, let's look at this mascara's claims. And to do that, I'm going to be looking at my notes over here. According to the brand's website, this mascara effortlessly separates and coats each lash, providing an intense demi-matte black finish. I would say that is a very accurate description of my experience of the product thus far. Anybody who's ever worn mascara knows that the formula tends to change over the lifetime of the tube, and this did start off quite wet, but not gloopy wet. I was still able to get very defined lashes even in the first few uses of this formula, and that's not always the case, so that was a good start. As I've been using this for the past 6 weeks, the formula has been gradually drying out, which is completely normal, and I actually like it better the more it dries out. The formula seems to be aging pretty gracefully, not developing any chunks or flakes. It just kind of grips itself a little bit more readily. So I feel like they've hit quite a nice balance. They also claim that efficacious vegan Italian plankton extract strengthens and stimulates lash growth and density. Visible increase in eyelash length after 42 days of use. That's how long I've been using it. And to be honest, I have not noticed a difference in my own eyelash length or density. To be fair, it is hay fever season. So although I have been technically wearing this mascara throughout that whole period, many days that I have been wearing it, my eyes have been very watery. So perhaps it's not as effective as it could be, or perhaps the claims just aren't quite as strong as they claim to be. But I haven't noticed a difference in my experience. But let's take a look at some more of their cosmetic claims. They say it has anti-flake and raccoon eye-proof technology. I can confirm that this mascara does not flake on me, and it's great. Also, it doesn't give me raccoon eyes, unless, of course, I'm putting it under super extreme conditions. As I mentioned, it is hay fever season, and sometimes I get a really horrible hay fever attack. My eyes are super watery and super itchy, and I just go in and scratch them. I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I just can't resist. And on those occasions, I did get some smudging, but I have to be fair and say that any mascara that is not waterproof does that on me. And if I am not scratching my eyes, this holds up very well. So I would say under normal conditions, I agree with their claims. I have not experienced any flaking or any raccoon eye or smudging under the eyes. And the last claim we'll examine, Queen Musia says that this mascara has a buildable texture, 1 to 2 coats for a natural look, 3+ coats for total drama. And the reason I said that was not for effect, it was a direct quote, because not only did they write total drama in all caps, they also italicized it. The question is, are they correct? And the answer is yes, if you follow the directions. They say you are to apply the mascara with a gentle hand in an upward motion from root to tip. Then you're supposed to allow 1 to 3 minutes for it to dry down before applying more coats. Now, I don't know about you, but I tend to get kind of impatient when it comes to the mascara step in my makeup routine. And so in my normal everyday life, I will apply a coat and wait 30 seconds tops. Most of the time, I'm probably waiting 2 seconds before I go in for the next layer. And that does not work with this. I did try it, and it didn't make my lashes look bad. It just didn't really build on itself either. So I was getting nice definition, but it wasn't really the total drama they were promising. Then I read the directions and started waiting 1 to 3 minutes before applying the next coats. And in that case, it was very buildable, but it was a little bit chunky for my taste. I don't think it looked objectively bad. I just tend to go for a fluffier type of lash. I have very low contrast coloring, and sometimes a heavy lash look can just be a bit much for my face. And what this gave me was more of that sultry, gathered lash look that's pretty heavy. I think I've heard some people refer to it as sexy spider leg lashes. That's not a description I would have ever come up with, because I personally don't think the words sexy and spider legs should exist in the same universe. But I can see why people like that aesthetic. In fact, I really enjoy it on other people, especially people with dark hair. I'm just not into it on myself. So I've been wearing just 1 to 2 coats with my everyday makeup to give me that more natural lash look, and I've really been enjoying it. However, I do plan on taking this mascara on my next tour, and when I am wearing this on stage, I do plan to build it up, because in that context, a heavy, sultry lash is exactly what I'm looking for. So who is this for? If you enjoy flexibility in a mascara, where you can go from simple definition to that sultry, gathered, heavier lash look, this mascara will give you that ability. Something that impressed me particularly with this was the fact that it didn't flake. That's something that I have struggled with a lot of mascaras, and so the fact that it didn't do that really impressed me. So is this nice enough to drag me away from my drugstore mascaras? And the answer is no. It's beautiful. It works works wonderfully. The packaging is so much more luxurious than anything I'll ever be able to find at the drugstore. But the fact of the matter is, I am the sort of person who exchanges their mascara like clockwork every 3 months for eye health reasons. And because it's such a frequently purchased product, I'm just not willing to spend those prices every 3 months. That's just not the point I'm at in my life right now. So I am going to treasure this until July when the clock strikes midnight and I go back to my drugstore mascaras. And I will be sad to see it go. Now it's time to talk about the lipstick, which is on my lips today. And let's begin by looking at some of the claims from the website. This matte cream lipstick formula delivers a luxurious, non-drying matte finish. I agree. It feels quite luxurious. It does not dry out my lips at all. In fact, it feels quite nice. And it definitely has a matte finish. Although there's a matte finish and then there's a matte finish. And I feel like this lipstick is the more gentle of the two finishes with just the ever so slightest kind of natural looking luminosity to it. Although this formula feels different than the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Revolution lipstick, I feel like those two have a comparable matte finish. Claim number 2 looks like a threefer. It lasts long, wears comfortably, and is extremely lightweight. I agree with 2 out of 3 of those points. It definitely, for a bullet lipstick, has great staying power, and it also wears very comfortably, but I do not feel like this formula is lightweight, in feel at least. The look is very lightweight. When I think of some matte lipsticks out there, they can look a little bit painted on. They look beautifully painted on, but they still look like they add a layer of something to the skin. I'm specifically thinking of formulas like the Lisa Eldridge matte lipsticks or the Gucci matte lipsticks. Those look very present on the lip skin. And I feel like this looks much lighter weight, much less present on the lips. It still has great opacity, yet manages to look lightweight. However, it doesn't feel very lightweight. I'm trying to think of how best to describe it, and I think the only analogy I can come up with is it's kind of like a weighted blanket. It's comfortable and comforting, but not lightweight. Maybe that's because the first ingredient in the deck is castor seed oil, which tends to be one of the thicker oils, but it also has been touted as a beautifying substance. So what about the color range? When Queen Musia contacted me and asked me if I would like to try some of their makeup, I took a look at their website to see what their range was, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to find a color that I would realistically wear. Out of the 6 colors, all of them looked pretty present on the lips and pretty bright. As someone who reaches for nude colored lipsticks 9 times out of 10, the only shade on the site that looked like it had potential to be an everyday friendly color for me was the shade Becky Sharp, which they ultimately sent to me. And they describe this as a royal damson jam color. And I will be swatching this against some of the other lipsticks in my collection in a moment so that you can get a better idea of the color. But first I want to talk about how to read the colors on the website, because I don't think this brand is available to swatch in person anywhere. And sometimes trying to read what a color will look like in real life from digital photos can be a little bit disorienting. Just from the product shot alone, I thought that this color was going to be too intense for me, but now that I've seen it in real life, it isn't. And when I look at the product shots with the models wearing the colors of lipsticks, I feel like those are actually a pretty accurate representation. So if you think the color in the bullet when you're looking at the product photos looks a little bit too intense, but if you see it on the model and it looks like it might potentially be wearable, I would maybe lean more towards the model picture than the product shot. At least based on my experience with the shade Becky Sharp, the photos with the models wearing the color gave me the more accurate version of what the shade would look like in real life. And although this isn't a nude pink on me, it's definitely not as intense as I thought it was going to be. And it turns out it's a very wearable pink. It somehow has something related to the tones native to my skin, and it's actually very easy to wear. So knowing what I know now, I think I'd actually be able to wear a bunch of the shades. But let's take a look at Becky Sharp, since that's the one that I have here. I'm wearing it on my lips today. I feel like it does not emphasize any lip lines or texture. It just has a beautiful, easy to wear, gentle matte finish. Here we have the Queen Musia lipstick in the shade Becky Sharp, which is this beautiful pink color. And when I apply it to my lips, I tend to just kind of dab it on like this, and you can see just one tap leaves some color behind. But of course you can swipe it just like any other lipstick And look at the opacity it gives. It's really great. I think the best course of action is to do one long swatch down my arm and then compare a bunch of different lipsticks next to it so we can see some of the qualities of this. Okay, so let's do the one long swipe of the Queen Musia down the side of my arm here. So we have a reference for all the other lipsticks. And the first one I'm going to compare will be a comparison color-wise. This is the one and only other really pink shade that I own. It's by Givenchy. It's shade number 16, Nude Boise in the Rouge Sheer Velvet formula. And what I like about this color is that it's very sheer. This is also a matte formula, but look at this. That's much more sheer than this is. However, I can also build it up if I want to. And so this formula, I feel like from Givenchy, just gives me a little bit more flexibility in how much I want to build up the color. And in reality, they're very similar. I only really need to own one of these lipsticks. And if I had to choose one, for my tastes, it would be the Givenchy, simply because the ease of flexibility in this formula. Not that this isn't great and beautiful, but this is just more my speed since I tend to wear less punchy colors. Next, I thought we could take a look at formulas because I don't have any other colors that are similar. And this is the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Revolution formula. I have it in the shade Very Victoria. And this formula has the most similar finish of all my matte lipsticks to the Queen Musia. And so I thought I would do that. This has a slightly luminous finish just like this one does. And I'll see if I can move it around a little bit. They're very matte, but they do have something luminous to them. They're not completely flat. Both of them are very comfortable to wear, but the Charlotte Tilbury feels lighter weight on the lips, whereas the Queen Musia has more presence. And I feel like that presence gives it more stick-to-itiveness. It's going to have more longevity on the lips. It's also not going to migrate at all onto the face, whereas the Charlotte Tilbury is a little bit more slippy, a little bit more silicone-y. And so that means that it has more potential to move or to fade. I do think that this one gives more longevity, whereas the Charlotte Tilbury doesn't give you quite as much. They're both just as comfortable though. The next matte formula that I want to compare is this one from Anastasia. This is the shade Dusty Mauve. It's in their matte lipstick. And the color is, of course, very different. And I feel like these formulas are the most similar that I have. They're both very grippy. They're both very stiff. I feel like they have that longevity to them. But what I like better about the Queen Musia is that, I don't know if you can see, it's smoother. It has kind of a smoother finish. That doesn't mean that the Anastasia can't give you a beautiful finish, but I do think that this one is a little bit smoother and a little bit more comfortable to wear. Then we have this lipstick from ZC Cosmetics. This is their Palace Identity Chinese Dragon lipstick. I have it in the shade M10. And this formula is different because it's a little bit more lightweight feeling. I feel like it gives you a similar look finish-wise, but with a lighter weight feel. And this one is a little bit more matte than the Charlotte Tilbury and the Queen Musia. So if you're looking for a more matte lipstick with a light feel, I think the ZC might actually be the better bet. Then we have the two lipsticks that I talked about as looking a little bit more like paint on the lips. This is the Lisa Eldridge matte formula in the shade Velvet Muse. And this is gorgeous, but I do feel like it can kind of make my lips look painted. And I don't know if you can see the difference in the formulas. This one's very smooth. This one looks gorgeous on the lips. I'm not complaining about the formula at all, but it does add texture, a beautiful sort of texture, a painted texture. It almost is like you become a Renaissance painting or something. But that's the kind of effect I tend to get with Lisa Eldridge, whereas this one is much lighter weight looking on the lips. And then the Gucci formula I feel is very similar to the Lisa Eldridge formula for the same reasons. It's a little bit heavier looking on the lips. So in summary, we have the Queen Musia, which is quite opaque. It is very lightweight looking, very smooth looking, but has a kind of heavier feel to it. Then we have the Givenchy lipstick, which I have two swatches here, which can be extremely sheer or built up. Both of these with a matte finish. Both of these feel very lightweight. They don't have the grippiness of the Queen Musia though. Then we have the Charlotte Tilbury formula, which has a similar finish, which is that slightly luminous, easy to wear matte that's not going to make your lips look dry. This one, the Charlotte Tilbury, feels lighter weight on the lips than the Queen Musia, but it also feels a little bit more slippy. So it has more potential to migrate and it doesn't have as much longevity as the Queen Musia. Then we have the formula that I think is the most similar, and that is the Anastasia Beverly Hills formula. But I feel like this one is more drying on the lips. I don't think it's super drying at all, but I do feel like the Queen Musia formula is a little bit more hydrating, more comfortable to wear in that way. And I do feel both of these on my lips when I wear them. When it comes to the ZC formula, I think it's very smooth, very opaque, just like the Queen Musia formula. This one feels lighter weight on the skin. I feel like it's maybe most similar to the Charlotte Tilbury. But once again, they're very similar. If you already had the Dragon lipstick, you wouldn't need Queen Musia. But I do think that this formula has more longevity. Then we have the Lisa Eldridge and the Gucci formulas, which to me feel and look very similar finish-wise. And both of them are just much more present than the Queen Musia lipstick. So who is Queen Musia lipstick for? Well, if you enjoy slightly more saturated colors, a soft matte finish, no fragrance, good longevity, and cute packaging, I think this is a good option. However, it does feel present on the lips. It's comfortable, but I am aware of the way it feels. So if you have sensory issues, this might not be the best formula for you. However, I do feel that that weight is what lends the product its longevity, and I also think that this would be great for anyone who's worried about wearing bolder colors because they're scared that the color will move. This formula tends to kind of stay put, which I think is great for a bolder color formula, and also perhaps for people with lip lines who are afraid that the product might migrate kind of into those lip lines as we age. And so I think there are quite a few advantages to a product with a weight to it like this one. And the ultimate question for any review, knowing what I know now, would I go out and purchase this with my own money? And the honest answer is no, but that has more to do with me and my current position in life than with the lipstick, because I have come to realize that cream and liquid cosmetics tend to go off a whole lot faster than powder products do. And so I've really been focusing on using and enjoying what I have, and I haven't actually purchased much lipstick at all in the past 2 years. In fact, I only purchased one sunscreen lipstick because I ran out of my old sunscreen, and that's been it. So right now, at this point in my life, I simply don't need a lipstick. However, if I did need a colorful, bold lipstick and I wanted to maybe increase the chances that it stays put on my lips and doesn't shift around, then this is definitely a formula I would consider. And if my tastes change and I decide I'm more interested in wearing brighter colors on my lips, I think this range will be the perfect place to start, simply because the formula doesn't move around as much as a lot of other formulas do. Have you tried anything from Queen Musia? Do you have any thoughts on the brand? If so, I hope you'll share them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all that jazz. But even if you don't, I hope you have a great week, and we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.